Cinema Classics is sponsored by the Gateway Film Center and is produced by John DeSando and Johnny DiLoretto. Listen to shows online at WCBE.org. I'm Johnny DiLoretto.
I'm John DeSando.
This here is Cinema Classics.
It is. We've got an odd one today.
Wow. Well, what do you mean?
An odd show, I think.
An odd show. This is going to be odd?
Yeah, I think so.
Don't you think it's timely?
Boy, is it ever. And you tipped me off by this internet movie, Becky.
Yeah. Becky. Right. And I think it's one of these movies that probably a smaller film that would be playing in theaters if we weren't, in the middle of this conundrum. So it's available to rent online. It's called Becky. It's a movie about a little girl. She's like a 12-year-old taking on a bunch of Nazis.
I think, actually.
13. Taking on a bunch of Nazi guys.
Yeah.
I mean, does that sound like a great movie?
Neo-Nazis headed by Kevin James.
Kevin James in little Against Type.
Yes.
Right?
Plus a gigantic 6'10". What's his name? Apex.
Yeah.
A former wrestler.
Oh, is that who that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
He's pretty good.
I think he is too.
He's got a little. He's got a nice humanity to him.
It's a typical topic for us: home invasion.
Yeah, that's right.
Here we are.
We just revisited.
You're right. We just revisited it. But I think the thing is, the tip for us was that Kevin James is the head of this Aryan Brotherhood, of these four convicts who have escaped. Yeah. And he's got a big swastika on the back of his head, and he's not nice.
No.
So it kind of fits that.
It's an interesting performance, right? So here's a guy who, obviously known for his the King of Queens, his sitcom work, and also his goofball movies and the stuff that he does with Adam Sandler and whatnot. And here he is Against Type. I mean, everybody does this every once in a while, right? The comedian who wants to, show a different aspect of their range. It's oddly sort of inert, his performance. It's not that I'm not the only one that picked up on this. I read a review where somebody picked up on this as well, where it feels like Kevin James might be able to be a very nasty Nazi villain, but is he holding back, or is he right up against his limitations here?
My thought was that in going against his type, he was going to really underplay it, so he appeared menacing. And more menacing than he would be. And I think then, as some have commented, he trails off toward the end of the film. Yeah. Gets to be a little bit nicer, it seems, toward the end of the film.
Yeah.
So I think he has problems adjusting.
I think you hit it right on the head. I think that maybe that's what he was going for, is sort of low-key menacing.
Yes.
And I don't even know at that point that you would need the Nazi label on these guys, like, you know what I mean? None of that ideology sort of seeps in. It's just sort of like Kevin James just has that, swastika tattoo on the back of his head, and that's all we really need to know.
Yeah, and they make some mention, about the mixed couple. So they bring in a few, but really, really hands off as far as any of the philosophy. Now, one that I tipped off to you, the boy in the striped pajamas, is more obviously ideological.
Right, and it's obviously like a more of a Holocaust movie.
Yes,
but I think it is still pertinent to the discussion because you can see it's interesting. I mean, it's scary looking at some of these movies now, hearing some of the same language bandied about on social media, in the press, from the White House. In The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, David Thewlis is the Nazi father who takes his family and they move right next to a concentration camp.
Well, he's the commandant of the camp.
And just hearing, just watching the kid sort of navigate the language of hate, right? And navigate that and then cultivate this friendship with this boy. And I got to tell you, we won't give the ending away, but I was really... That one took me by surprise.
That is one of the most striking endings I have ever seen.
I did not see that come. And right up until the end, John, I was thinking, no, there's not. this is not going to happen.
Well, and the improbability of the two on one side of the wire fence and the other side, the two of them interacting, improbable. But it serves as, for me, the metaphor of the awakening of the United States, the awakening of the world to what was going on in these secluded spots. So again, we're talking the Nazis beautifully uniformed, disciplined, scary, and that's why I think your Kevin James film does the same thing for me. There's something so dangerous, something so volatile about the pent-up anger of these neo-Nazis.
Yeah, it's scary. I think it's its own type of horror when you see these, like, a group of villains who believe in the same idea. They're motivated by an idea.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Like in Die Hard, you got the bad guys. They just want to rob the building.
Yes.
You know, when ideology is involved, it sort of introduces an element of horror. American History X is a movie that maybe some people need to revisit now. That one was an early '90s movie with Edward Norton, and really kind of put that guy like on the map. He came out in Primal Fear with Richard Gere, but then he did this sort of physical transformation, you know, and became this menacing, bulky neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I was just reading a little something about that movie, and the author of this piece extracted a bit of dialogue from Edward Norton's character and held it up against a bit of dialogue from President Trump, and it is frighteningly similar. It sounds like the two guys are saying the same thing.
And isn't it true what you're suggesting? You're talking extremists, no matter whether they're Nazis or feminists, whoever they are, the extreme is always dangerous.
Yeah.
And what could be more dangerous than concentration camps and eradicating a whole race?
Right. And what could be more fun than watching Nazis just getting mowed down?
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Becky, did you enjoy the violence?
I enjoyed very much the fact that this 13-year-old girl, who was evidencing so much of teenage angst and anger, could turn that onto these bad boys.
Yeah.
And give them less. It's obviously over the top.
Yeah, for sure.
But she is just wonderful, and it takes that formulaic home invasion and does a twist on it. And I'm enjoying every minute of whatever she does to these bad boys. And she is good, and she's in your face.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a ridiculous movie, but you know, a nice little rental. And we can't have this conversation without talking about Inglourious Basterds.
Of course.
And Brad Pitt heading up that Tarantino picture. So much fun. You know, that movie is a lot more than it looks on the surface. You think it's just going to be a Brad Pitt, Dirty Dozen type, you know, hunting down Nazis. It's obviously a lot more than that, but that's at its central, you know, its central premise is that, and that's the heart of the movie, right? And that was the first movie that I think Tarantino really sort of introduced us to this idea of like fantasy revisionist history.
Right, the ending.
I mean, everybody, it'd be like watching a movie about the Titanic and it doesn't sink.
Yep.
You know? So that gleeful sort of eradication of Hitler at the end.
Even beyond that, Jojo Rabbit
Yeah.
attempts to take this very difficult topic, Hitler-centered, and making something amusing out of it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, in our current political situation, it could cast Jojo Rabbit in an entirely different light. I know everybody had problems with, oh, we're making a comedy out of the Holocaust, but really what that movie is about is look how susceptible children are to dangerous, hateful ideas.
Yes.
Right? And it's taking this little beautiful child and poisoning the well of his development with these just disgusting ideologies.
And it ramps up the innocence. You know, everybody's innocence in the face of this very difficult times and oppression, totalitarianism. It does take it and puts it in, particularly now in Boy in the Striped Pajamas. This is almost all that boy's point of view. but it is the way in which we as human beings are responding to almost unimaginable horror, and how gradual that is. But yet when it comes due, when it all comes due, you have that fantastic ending, which affects everybody, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Dad, the commandant of the camp,
right.
responsible.
Yeah.
His kids, his wife, Vera Farmiga,
right.
never better for me.
She's really great. There's a scene where, you know, and I think it sort of is supposed to encapsulate some of the German experience, but there's a scene where she figures out herself what's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess the idea is there that a lot of Germans didn't know what was going on. I don't know how much of that I believe to be true.
Inconsistency in the script, because she said, "You told me we wouldn't be close to this place."
Oh, I see. And then, right.
So I was confused too. It looked like she was completely...
See, that's, in a way, maybe that's what it is, right? Isn't that kind of what we're going through right now? There's a lot of, we know, people, I just find it hard to believe that a major swath of the American population doesn't know what's actually being said, doesn't know what's actually being done. And, you know, we can hide behind phrases like jobs, 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 and drain the swamp. But really, I feel like a lot of that is just dog whistling to, you know, a sort of willfully ignorant, compliant person.
And, you know, this is a topic that would take forever. I did just search my mind for my favorite Nazi films.
Okay.
And my favorite, the most powerful one, is Night and Fog.
Oh, wow.
Which is a
yeah,
documentary.
That is a heavy duty.
Oh, my gosh. And Leni Riefenstahl's Triumph of the Will, of course, is a glorification of Nazis. And we had your buddy in Valkyrie, right?
Oh, yeah, Tom Cruise, yeah. That's an underrated movie.
Boy, it is for sure, yeah. Then, one of my favorites, again, completely different, The Great Escape.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right, yeah.
Stalag 17. I mean, we could go on and on. You're right. This is...
And always evidencing, back to the producers, always evidencing our willingness to play with this almost verboten idea, because we need to come to terms with it, and humor, as you suggested, is a way of doing it. But when you take the two movies that we've looked at today, Becky and The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, you got to take a rest after this.
Yeah.
That's it, I think.
Yeah, that's it. No, I mean, you know, I would just add, take a rest, but then, you know, do what you can.
Don't
fall prey to this. Right?